Hey, I'm Dexter.
I'm Whitney.
And this is
Tied Together.
So a while back we did a media review of Three Identical Strangers, and we've done our superhero review with Chris Cowell, which is honestly like I like all these. That was like one of my favorites because Chris is awesome.
That was great. I need to record it and put it on YouTube, go back and record the Instagram live and put it on YouTube somehow.
But that was awesome. So we're coming to you today with another media review.
A documentary called Rising Phoenix, which is about the Paralympic Games and the Paralympic athletes. It showcases some of the Paralympic athletes.
It's a multifaceted video, and but it's all very interesting and kind of coalesces very well. I feel like you get some of the history, you get some of the athletes, and you get like some of the controversies and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I really like because it draws attention to a much larger issue in the disability community. Well, not larger, but it makes it more glaring in a sense that you don't usually get in the day-to-day.
Right. And several of the athletes that they showcase are adoptees. And there are a lot of disabled adoptees that participate in the Paralympic Games, which I find to be very interesting. What are the you said it showcases parts of the disability experience, or it kind of amplifies those parts. What do you mean by that?
Well, spoilers if you haven't watched it. If you haven't watched it, go watch it and come back and then watch
it's on Netflix. It's free.
But
on Netflix, if you pay for Netflix
subscription. If you pay the subscription on Netflix, it's free to watch.
Yeah, you can watch on Netflix.
But there's a part in there where they go to the Rio de Janeiro games, and the president of Rio had stole the money from the budget for the Paralympics because they didn't I guess they didn't care.
They spent both budgets on the Olympic Games.
Yeah. And that to me, it's so funny because I talk about this all the time, but disabled people have this thing where they're inspirational, but they're also very put on the back burner when necessary. And I think this showcases this in a very, very high manner.
On the world stage.
Yeah, on the world stage. We're good with you being an inspiration as long as there's no cost to us. And if we need to, hot take, if we need to take advantage of you to get what we need done, we'll do it. There's a lot of different areas where you could talk about that. I will avoid them because I feel like those could be major points. And
maybe one. Give us one.
The pandemic, there was a lot of people that said that we're not going to stay indoors, and if anybody's a vulnerable population, they can just stay indoors. But if you flip that around, why do you want to go outside? Why is you being able to be free at cost to me more valuable than being willing to keep me safe as more than just a disabled person, but as a fellow human being? My life should matter.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I'm gonna get off my soapbox about that, but
I love all your soapboxes. I think you have every right to be angry about those things, and I think also in the film it talks about the 1980 Olympics, which was in the USSR, the Soviet Union, and they did not host the Paralympics. They refused. The Paralympics started in 1960, and they refused to host the Paralympics because they said they had no disabled people.
They had an image to uphold. They had no disabled people, which was a lie, by the way. Gonna throw that out there, but it was all about image, and we don't want to tarnish our image with the disabled community.
And that's a good segue. I don't remember everybody's names that were in the documentary. We kind of are filming this on the fly.
Yeah,
Dexter's going to be going out of town, and we wanted to kind of get it done before he left. But we won't post it until after he gets back.
Yeah,
because it's a surprise. But yeah. It's that bit in the documentary segued into Tatiana. There was a Paralympian that was born in Russia, and she was adopted when she was 6 to the United States. And I don't remember if it said her disability. She had no use of her legs. And she did wheelchair track or something. She had to get a
law written and this is
Tatiana's Law.
Yeah, in the U.S., and this is around 2008, which was crazy to me because they wouldn't allow her to compete in track because she used a wheelchair
At her high school.
and they thought it was unfair. So she talked to, I think, her senator or her governor, and got a law written that said there's no discrimination against disabled athletes
in high school.
In high school,
and maybe in college, maybe public college too. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
And that was only in 2008.
That surprised me. And I think I've been genuinely shocked by that, just because like that seems to me, in my own mind, like something that should have. I mean, I could understand that happening in the 90s. I could understand that maybe in the early 2000s, but it surprised me that it's
2008.
This late in the game, kind of, and we're still having to break like basic ground,
right? Because there's laws in place for like equality between boys and girls sports.
Yeah,
and those are a lot older. Maybe not a huge amount. I don't know, but way before 2008. I do know that.
And I would think something like that would be included in the thinking of the Americans with Disabilities Act, or the ADA. But
for equal opportunities in schools.
Yeah, because
like it shouldn't need a separate law.
ADA is totally about equal opportunity in the workplace, so I would think that would just come into the same line of thinking.
And there was a lot of things that happened in the school system for ADA also, or for the IDEA Act, which was around the same time, I believe. But yeah, it was just academics, and that's still a struggle, right?
So it's like section by section by section. You have to like. But that's interesting to me. And
this girl, I just found her story to be very interesting. And then I think with athletes, they always try to bring in like a human drama piece. And so if an athlete is adopted, or if a disabled athlete is adopted, and that's a big, that ends up being a big part of the story and the showcase. And I think I really respect all of the athletes that were portrayed. I wonder a lot about how they feel about always being portrayed this way. Or like, because her story was like, like I was put into an orphanage when they found out I didn't have any use of my legs because they didn't have, my birth parents didn't have any money to take care of me. So they put me into orphanage, and then I was adopted to the United States when I was 6, and I had to have like 10 surgeries. And so it the disabled piece and the adoption piece all kind of ran together. Yeah, it plays together, and then it's like, wow, this is a lot to just like have out on display for like a human interest piece that's only like a few minutes long for your, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just a lot of
being open and vulnerable, maybe.
Yeah, and it's a lot of information for people to have about you, and something that's so complex to be boiled down to just minutes, right. And with the adoption piece and the disability piece. And I really latched onto her because, I think she was disabled from birth.
Yeah. And
a lot of the other Paralympians were injured. And so that I feel like that representation is important too. Disabled from birth versus becoming disabled later in life is two really different lived experiences in some ways.
Yes, it is.
I did some extra... I remember when we watched it the first time, I did some extra research on her. And there were times that her Russian birth mother came. Yeah,
they show them.
Did they show that on there?
They show them. There's a video clip of her birth mother and her adopted family all in the stands together cheering her on.
And I was like, wow.
I remember that, yeah.
How heavy must that have been? What would that have been like? What a thing to pile on, what a thing to go through while you're trying to like win an Olympic, like a gold medal, and be the best. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You got the competition, plus you got the dynamics between adopted and birth parents, and
the emotion of just having her there,
just having everybody together. Like it's just got to be a crazy ride on multiple levels, and to stay that focused and to do all that. It's just I'll be straight up, I don't know if I could have done that.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for her, but like what a thing to go through. Like I'm sure it wasn't easy.
No.
So there's that piece. And I feel like I'm trying to remember how much I heard if people were grateful. That was something that I tried to listen to during the like, oh, I'm so grateful for my parents, or I'm so grateful for the opportunity, I'm so grateful for the way that I was raised, or I'm so grateful.
There was a little bit of that. There was and mostly what it was, and which I loved this part myself personally. They would talk about their families and the attitude that would get them to the Paralympics. How, like, even if their parents or their immediate family were like, what are you doing? They would have somebody in their life that would look at them and say, you could do this. You can do whatever you want to do. There was the rugby guy.
He had his grandfather.
His grandfather bought him like a 4-wheeler, and his parents were like, what are you doing? He can't operate it. And he's like, he's sure he can. He's just got to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And then the bow and arrow guy's
he didn't have the use of his legs. Is that right?
Yeah. He used a skateboard, and then
that's right.
Moved up the wheelchair once he started playing
wheelchair rugby.
Yeah. But that was a running theme in that situation, which I guess to them wouldn't be a big deal. But if you stop and think about it from the point of the disability community as a whole, how rare is it to have somebody that thinks like they can do this, like it's fine, and not just like hands off, like okay, good luck, but like stands with you and is like, no, we'll figure this out. There's ways you can do this. I feel like that's a really rare quality, and it's probably a lot of why. I mean, I don't want to speak for these people, but if it was me, that would give me a lot of drive to push myself as far as they have.
Sure. Sometimes I wonder about just like as a counterpoint to that a little bit. I wonder, like, I'm not disabled, but as an adoptee, I always felt like I needed to be the best at things. I had to like. I was a strong student, so that was really where I excelled, and I wonder how much of that type of attitude for these adopted Paralympians, how much that plays into their strive or their drive to be the best or to get to the Paralympics, because I'm sure that there's always really complex family dynamics when a sport is your whole life.
You kind of have to. And I think this is one of those crossover issues, because I feel like with a disability, like, you generally feel this is not true. Oh my gosh, this is not true. But a lot of times, you deal with feeling like a burden, so you have to like go the extra mile to show that, like, to take the burden off everybody.
Right.
And I think in adoption, it's a little bit different, but it is.
I think adoptees often feel like a burden too, especially if they don't live up to some sort of
standard
preconceived notion of what they're supposed to be.
And I've said it before on here, and I'll say it again: nobody's ever a burden for existing. Every human you will ever meet is valuable and precious in their own right, by themselves, without hesitation, without second thought. You don't have to do anything to show worth. Just be you, and that's enough.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be too sappy, but I just.
But yeah, you don't owe.
No.
You don't owe for your existence. You don't owe for being taken care of as a child. You don't owe for being adopted or being disabled. Like, you don't owe anybody. You don't come into life in debt in that way, and having to make up for your needs. Everybody has needs, and as a humanity, I think the reason for us being here is to try to help out one another and meet each other's needs in any ways that we can. But it's not like a barter system. It's not like you come in. It's not like if you have more physical needs, or if your parents didn't want you or something, that you somehow owe more.
The only person you owe in life is yourself. Is being able to look in the mirror and say, did I live up to who I wanted to be today? That is the only person you owe. And that's, that should be the standard.
Absolutely. we have anything else we want to say about Rising Phoenix?
Great documentary. Addresses a lot of issues. I love it. I love so much about this documentary on so many levels. Anyway,
and then for me, I recommend it. I thought it was very thought-provoking. I do have, some critiques. I think that it can be very, again, with sport, I think there's a very narrow view on people's lives and stuff like that. And it's just, I think it's important to remember that Paralympics is one of very many disabled experiences, and not every disabled person is going to be an Olympian, and that's okay. And then with adoption, it reminds me of that commercial. There was like a Paralympics, one of the Paralympians had a commercial that she did about, and it touched on her adoption in the commercial for the thing. She was a swimmer. I don't think she was one that was showcased here, but it's very easy to boil down these issues to like tropes or to something very simplistic. Bullet points.
It turns people into bullet points.
And it's so I think it's important to remember, like, if you're gonna watch the documentary, and I recommend it. I do.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it, and I was glad to have a chance to watch it again for this. But just to remember that, these things are one lens, and there are many, and none of them negate each other. Like these adoptees, they talked about being super grateful, and that like they just like could never repay their parents and stuff like that. And that is how they were portrayed. That was how they feel. I would hope that they were portrayed accurately. But there's a lot of other experiences too that run parallel to those things. And then even the ones that were portrayed here, there's a lot more depth that can't be shown in such a short amount of time on such a broad subject.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's important to remember. I hope to see. I
think what you're saying is don't use this as cannon fodder and make yourself feel like your feelings aren't valid.
Right, and for other people that are trying to learn about adoption, like take in many different types of media about it, or even about disability. If you're trying to understand, if you're on the outside looking in, trying to understand a disability experience, just understand that like there are many, and it's important to partake of some of the things that are portrayed here are portrayed a lot.
Yeah.
And it's important to remember that there's a plethora of experiences. That's from Three Amigos. You haven't seen the Three Amigos, huh?
It's been a long time, yeah.
A plethora. Would you say that I have a plethora?
All right, I gotta go before this gets out of hand.
Oh, yes.
Oh, gosh.
Definitely a plethora.
All right.
But many experiences that are valid.
Oh, man.
And I would love to hear anybody's thoughts about this documentary. Yeah, anybody that follows us, anybody that comes across this. I would love to just have a discussion about these things with anybody. So, anything else?
Nope. Just have a good one, guys.
Thank you so much.